Hello, hello, hi everybody. It's a Sunday, and that means we have our Mbira Christmas. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for those who have been following the program that we've been doing. And today we want to hear from our panelists. I have a few people that are with me today. We want to hear their views of how they think Mbira can be best made familiar. And I'm talking about in the community outside of Zimbabwe. We know how we can make it familiar. It is familiar in the community of Zimbabweans, but we are talking about outside of Zimbabwe. With me, we have four Mbira musicians with different musical backgrounds. And each one, I'm going to briefly talk to each one about their journey, why they love this music so much, and how we can get this music to be just as familiar in the community outside of Zimbabwe. Now, I'm going to welcome my guests. With me, there is Jomo. How are you, my brother?
I'm fine, just fine.
And there is Hassan. Hello, Hassan.
Thank you.
We have Erica. How are you, Erica?
Great. Thanks, Savannah.
Erica has been with us for the past 7 weeks. I think I now finally have track of it. Thank you so much for spending so much time with us. And I think I dropped Sherry. Hi, Sherry. How are you? Sherry, can you hear us? Okay. I think we are having a little bit of network issues or something with Sherry, but she will be with us. She will join in, and then we'll introduce her as she comes in. Now, can I start with Jomo just because you're next on my screen? Can I start with you? Can you just give us a very briefly tell us about how you got into Mbira? I know I've had this conversation with you, but we have a whole lot of people who have never seen you and don't know you. Just briefly tell us, how did you get started with Mbira?
Well, the first time I heard Mbira was from Taj Mahal, and then soon after that, while in New York, I picked up my first Mbira, which was a kalimba. That most of African Americans, that was our first introduction to the Mbira, was the kalimba. And I happened to go to a concert at the Apollo, and I heard Leon Thomas playing kalimba, and so that's what really hooked me. And of course, Maurice White with Earth, Wind, and Fire came out, and so that's how most of us were first introduced to it. But and then later, I started learning about the Zimbabwean music, the Shona Mbiras, and that was just like that was when I was able to make the connection back to the continent, you
Okay.
know. And so that was my
All right.
grand opening.
All right. Erica, I know we have talked about this, but just briefly, can you go through how you first got yourself introduced to Mbira?
Well, I was first introduced to the Mbira by Dumi Maraire, actually when he was visiting for, I think, just one day. When I was still in high school, he visited the University of California at Berkeley for a day during the summer. And a friend of mine who was already at the university had told me about this class about world music. And so I was just sitting in on it to hear some good music. And that's how I
Yes.
first heard it. And then when I went to the University of Washington, I studied with him. That was the Ngwenyambiras that Sharia and I learned together when
Yes.
we were teenagers, freshmen at the university. But through him, I also heard recordings and also his marimba arrangements
Mhm.
of the big Mbira. And I just totally fell in love with it. I was obsessed with that. I ended up borrowing one from a professor and trying to teach myself based on those marimba arrangements. And I quit university and started working to try and save up money to go to Zimbabwe, which at the time was still racist Rhodesia.
Yes.
And so when I went, it was actually very challenging because the government wouldn't even give me permission to live in rural areas. So I had to stay in the cities. But luckily for me, there were so many great Mbira players that lived in the city to work. And so I had some amazing teachers.
All right.
And that was how I got started, was when I went first learning on my own and then going to Zimbabwe in 1974 and 1975.
All right, amazing. Now, I'm just going by who is next on the screen. Sherry, hi, how are you? I know we are having a little bit of problem connecting, but you're right here. How did you get introduced to Mbira music? I know we have spoken about this before, but just briefly, how did you get to connect with this music? Sherry, can you hear us? All right. Sherry. I think we are having a connection issue now with Sherry. But
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you finally.
I'm still here. Yes.
Did you hear my question, or do I need to rephrase it?
All right.
Okay, I can't hear Sherry. Can you guys hear Sherry?
Yes, I did. Erica highlighted part. No, I heard it. Erica highlighted a little bit. Oh, okay. But my mic is on.
Yeah, no, it's the network. It's going in and out. It's the network. I think it's the network. We can hear you, but it's coming in with in broken pieces. Can you go ahead?
Okay. I'm kind of near the router, so I don't know. Am I in or out?
Now we can kind of hear you. Go ahead. Is it possible for you to take off your Wi-Fi and use your cell phone?
Okay. Should I keep talking?
Yeah. And if you can take off your Wi-Fi and use your regular data for this, your regular phone.
Okay.
Take off your Wi-Fi because it's cutting off. In the meantime, I'm going to have Brother Hassan. Go ahead. Tell us why and how, in a snap, get connected to Mbira music.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, clear.
All right. For me, I saw the instrument in a store and had a very, small amount of time with one that I purchased. But my real introduction and initiation was in a group known as the Spirit Ensemble that kind of ruled New York for about 20 years. So the Mbira is part and parcel to that group. And it was the main tonal center with Jimmy Cruz, Ibaye on flute, Melvin Dean, steel pan. And in that group, the main Mbira players that I got to sit in with was, he's passed, Brother Zaleka Mbira, and I'm getting a little emotional because he's amazing, and Brother Kevin Nathaniel. So I got to sit with both of those men, and Kevin is still with us. Yes. So I'm happy. That's why I got it, Spirit Ensemble.
All right. Thank you so much. Let me see if I can get Sherry again. Sherry, hi.
Hi.
Okay. I think we got you. There's a little background sound, but go ahead. Tell us, how did you get into Mbira?
I was a student at University of Washington, and I was in class with Erica. And the first quarter, I took African dance with Dr. Marare, but the next quarter, I took marimba and mbira. And I also borrowed an instrument from Professor Dr. Robert Garfias, and he showed me my first mbira song. So from there, it was mbira and marimba all the way.
All right, and I know I said how can we get Mbira music to be familiar in the African American community? But is Mbira a familiar instrument in the African American community? Is it something that if I go into any African American community and I say Mbira, they will know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Why is that?
We were just never
No.
introduced to it. You know,
Right.
our Earth, Wind, and Fire was, and Maurice White was what most Americans know of Mbira. And even that, they don't recognize the instrument itself. They just hear the sound of it. A lot of times when I perform, and they say, "Oh, that's the thing that Maurice White used to play."
Yes.
So,
So even if they have heard it, but they can't identify where it's from. Is that what you're saying, Jomo?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Hassan, I think you were about to say something.
Yeah, it's like Jomo said, it wasn't something was really shared. Most of the things about Africa, you know, it's on a kind of marginalized perspective anywhere over here. You know, unless you go to Africa and study with somebody or you get an instrument, it's kind of like that. It's just very seldom that you hear about the outlining instruments like kora, you know, ngoni, mbira, balafon, you know, mostly drums. They say Africa, drums.
Yeah, because
So much.
I was going to say that music has been kind of the most direct cultural link between Africa and the US and the population in the US, especially the African Americans. Now, even if it is, do you think that people do understand that there's more than drums in Africa?
Yeah.
Now they do.
Yeah, they're starting to now. But you know, a lot of people don't realize that any slave-based society, if you look at an mbira, we look at it as a musical instrument. But if you were a slave and you were under the thumb of a master, the master, all he saw was a bunch of knives that could kill people with. You know, they was not
right,
going to allow that instrument in. You know, they just said no, Mbira, no.
Because of the sharp tone.
Like in airports after 9/11.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Sherry, what are your thoughts? Okay, it looks like Sherry.
I agree with what was stated. I think that you know, in the I'm frozen.
Yeah, you're frozen on the screen, but I can hear you now. Yeah, but I can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I think people, a lot of people were had seen the kalimba, and like a large part of the population, they began to call it a thumb piano. And so and more viewed as maybe a toy and not a serious instrument. But I do think that the awareness is expanding in terms of the types of instruments that are found in Africa for sure.
Okay. Now, I keep saying that the Mbira needs to be familiar in the African American community specifically, because we do realize that it's not. I want to find out from each one of you some of the thoughts that you have on how we can make this instrument more familiar among the professional musicians in the African American community. Like you're saying, Maurice White back in the day used it. But is it carrying on to the next generation of the influencers in this community? And how can we best get it there? Or should we get it there? I'm going to start with whoever is on the first of the screen, Jomo. And then we come to Sherry and then Hassan and Erica. I mean, to Jomo, Erica, Sherry, and Hassan.
Well, I think it has to start in the school system, basically.
Okay.
When I lived in South Florida, where you have a large Caribbean community, the steel pan was introduced into the school system on the primary schools level, and they developed orchestras of steel pan, and now steel pan is known all over the country now. And the same thing really needs to be done with Mbira. If we introduce it to our community at an early age, then they're going to see it. And the other thing is professional musicians. There's a brother, he's a drummer called Paco Saray, and he plays trap set, but he steps out in front and plays Mbira also. Same thing with a jazz musician named Stanley Cowell. Every performance, he has an Mbira on his piano, and he dedicates at least one song to Mbira. So it's just being more visible.
Okay. So I think before I go further, I need to clarify something. I need to get this conversation back centered onto what just happened. So in Zimbabwe, for the first time, we have seen Mbira players coming together and forming what is called the Mbira Guild of Zimbabwe. Mbira Guild of Zimbabwe. Now, because of that, I have been on a quest for the longest. I don't know if people have noticed, but this has been my quest. I want to put it out there on the front. My quest has been to see the Mbira community together, coming together. I don't care where they are, where the Mbira community is. But I've been on a quest to see it speak in one voice. But I always felt and thought that until the Mbira community in Zimbabwe comes together and starts speaking in one voice, the rest of the Mbira community will always be in silos, which is what we have seen. Everybody loves Mbira. Everybody has the good intentions of Mbira. They do the best they can with the resources. They're putting their own resources, but the ultimate goal is to promote the music. And I need you to correct me if I'm wrong on my observation. Now, in my own small part, I began to do this quest of trying to bring all the voices onto one platform to try and see if I can get everybody talking, communicating without the emotion, and trying to forge a way forward and say, hey, how can we now work all together in our own differences and get this done? Now, in everything that we're talking about today, this is where the best of the conversation is coming in. And something that I've heard constantly from the Mbira community, from everybody, is that Zimbabwean voices need to be recognized and they need to speak for themselves, right?
Yeah.
I think in reverse, it also is very proper to say the community in America, whether it's the African American community or I kind of hesitate to use the white community word, white community. You gotta help me figure out another better way of expressing it, because we cannot be divided by the skin of the color of our skin. The mainstream community, maybe, is that a better word?
Yeah.
Or
If I
just
say
the
make,
North American community.
okay, the North American community. Thank you so much, Erica. I think it's a better way of expressing. So when we are in North America, it is proper. This is something that should have been done in the beginning, but it never happened. When music came into America, it came through individuals and it was very in silos and it has continued in silos. But because of the new guilt that has been formulated, I think there's a new approach that needs to be done. That is just my own personal. Do not put it on anybody else. I think we need to intentionally start working towards making a consensus, an effort together on how best can we get Mbira music moving without disrupting what is there already. That's what I want people to understand. There is never the intent to disrupt what people have been building over the years. So nobody should feel threatened. But the idea is, how then do we move from what we have already and come together and work together? Now, I think I needed to do that in the beginning before I started asking people, just to set the tone of the conversation. Now, Sherry, was I on Sherry right now? Right? No, I was on
Erica.
Hassan. Erica. Okay, I lost my track. Erica, there you go.
Well, I think it's exciting that this Mbira Guild has been formed as an organization in Zimbabwe, because Zimbabwe should be taking the lead in how its own music is going to be promoted in the world and the education about it is done in the world. So I think that's a really exciting first step. And I hope that can be spread. But as Jomo was mentioning, and the others have been mentioning, the instrument still isn't that much known in this part of the world. I mean, all of us who are here have been spreading the word about it, but I would say it's still not that much known. And I think there's also some confusing things that haven't been mentioned yet, such as now tourist kalimbas are being made all over the world. They're being made in the US.
And
they're being made in Bali.
Oh, God.
When I taught a workshop in Bali, I saw in the market there were some little tourist kalimbas that were being made in Bali. So I think that education that this instrument comes from Africa is really, it's a very important first step. And, what Jomo was talking about education in the schools about it, famous people not only bringing it out there so people know it exists, but saying that this comes from Africa. Even if they're playing a style that's not from Africa, that the origin of this instrument was in Africa, and being honest about whether they're playing a traditional style or their own style, because both of those happen.
Yeah.
I remember hearing back in the 70s jazz musicians who used one in their band. So I think all of those are important, and I'm excited to see how this new guild in Zimbabwe is going to take the lead, whether they're going to put out educational information that can be used in other parts of the world. I think that would be great.
Yeah. So besides what the guild is doing in Zimbabwe and taking a lead, what I really wanna get at, and the purpose of this conversation is, how do we in this part of the world think is best? Because there's people in Zimbabwe cannot know how music and how to penetrate or how to get this music familiar. How do you, Erica, see or feel here in the US it should be done to get this music into the mainstream and familiar? Jomo says through education, meaning we have to get the young ones, right?
I think also through social media, because that's what young people do.
Yes.
And I have to say that you know a lot more about that than I do, Savannah, because I'm someone older. Like, to me, it was a big accomplishment to get my website out there, and that has brought a lot of people who were interested in the music, into contact with me.
Yeah.
But I think social media is more the thing now, and I'm a beginner at that. So I
Okay.
try my best, but it's not that great. And I actually think to make it really be known here among young people who are the future would be important to get young people to really put it out there on social media, who
Okay.
really know their way around that, and that's their normal environment that they're always in.
Okay.
So that's my idea.
All right, Sherry. Can I get you to respond to the same question? Okay, I'm trying to get my my charger. My phone is dying.
Can you ask it again?
Okay. I kind of gave a brief of why I do it and what I think is the way forward. But I want, as part of my quest, the conversation, I want to understand what, one, the North American community thinks and feels is the way forward. We understand what we have all been doing, but we have all been doing things in silos, right? As individuals, the best that we can. Now, the Mbira Society has just shown us something. I'm so sorry. The Mbira Guild has just shown us something that they are coming together, even though they've been working over the years separately, but they've come together and they formed what is called a guild. And because of that, I'm saying in the community here in North America, how can we forge forward, taking from that leaf of coming together? How can it be done so that we can get this into the mainstream? Because we all know it's not in the mainstream. We all know that we are working in silos the best we can. Sherry, hi. Hello, Sherry. I think Sherry is frozen. Can we go to? Okay.
Education is key, just like Jomo said. And hi.
Go ahead. Go ahead. We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you still asking me? Am I frozen?
You're frozen on the screen, but you're coming in bits and pieces. Right now, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I think Mbira artists coming together is a great idea. I think it's a little bit premature to fully assess what's going to happen. There's so many different types of instruments, and there are so many contexts in which the music is played that I want to see that, that all the Yunga players are part of the mix, or the Matepe players, or the Yardi players, or and not just. So I think it is a little bit premature in the development, and I think that the world is kind of so vast that even when Jomo said people know the steel pan, I still think there's know the steel pan, and I don't think everybody will know Mbira as an instrument. But I do think that continued education and ways to spread the word, like probably all of us on this platform, you know, educating and inspiring different audiences that will ultimately make the instrument more known. And who's to say what that time span might be, or how much of a mainstream instrument Mbira will become. So that's kind of my short point of view about it.
Okay. And Brother Hassan?
Well, when I think about your question and I think about my experience, only thing I can say is that it really depends with each person wanting to share what they have and trying to share it in a loving, organized way. Education, like everyone said, is great. But and then getting the young people involved in something that is seldom seen, seldom introduced, and seldom played. Understand what that whole process is about. You know, in my opinion, I don't think Mbira will ever be a mainstream thing unless the educational system puts an investment into its presentation. You know, because you have violin schools, you have guitar conservatories, you have drum percussion, but Mbira is a bit different in its presentation. You know, it's a center of reality for the people of Zimbabwe, and then how it, you know, is shared all over Africa. So to push anything that has that depth in its organic presentation, I think it would give it a little bit of a problem. Let it be as it is, but just share what you have. I think that's the best way.
Thank you. I want to get back to a little bit of what Sherry, I picked up from Sherry's saying that she wants to see the Nyunga Nyunga and all the other representation of the instrument. Is it not correct? And I need you to speak on this. Is it not correct then to say that when the Mbira Guild comes up and says we are the Mbira Guild, anything else that was formulated after the Mbira or in the image of the Mbira is within the same category? Is it not that even when the Nyunga Nyunga was created, was it not part of the influence, the Mbira? Does it not come under that category? Why should it be separated from being represented by the guild in Zimbabwe and moving forward?
Well, you know, I think the guild is ultimately is looking to
Is that to me?
make the
Let Jomo speak, and then we can go around, just like we are doing. We go around.
I think the guild's purpose is ultimately to bring more visualization to the lamellophones that came out of Africa, because a lot of my influence came from Zimbabwe. I mean, from Tanzania. You know, from Ukwe Zawuse family and the Gogo family tribe. So there's lamellophones in general are just like, you say guitar, but you have a flamingo guitar, you have electric guitar, all these different guitars, and it's the same thing with Mbira.
Yes.
And so, you know, people need to be able to choose Mbira based on what they're familiar with or what's comfortable for them, you know. And I think that's one of the purposes that the guild is going to move towards.
Okay.
It has to start in Zimbabwe because that's where it is. That's the main place.
So, in the UNESCO recognizing Zimbabwe and Malawi, even though this instrument we know is all over the world, there's something that is saying about where the source is, right? So, Jomo, before I move to Erica, do you then think that when we are talking about Mbira Guild, we're talking about Mbira Guild or any of that form? Is that what you're saying?
It's got to start with Zimbabwe,
Yes.
you know, because that's That's the heart of it. That's the heart of the Mbira. But every culture has their own Mbira, you know. And eventually we want to move to visualize, to give everybody a voice, you know, who's across the continent and the Caribbean and South America, you know.
Okay. All right. That sounds interesting. Like in my own vision, I can see the Mbira Guild not just setting up for Zimbabwe, but there must be some sort of charters in different countries where we find all these Mbiras to represent what they have, and then coming in together. Erica, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's important that there be education about this type of instrument being from Africa. And although it's in other parts of the world, like I'll give an example that I think many people might not know. I think many people who are Mbira lovers might know it was taken to the Caribbean. But how many people know that it was taken to Brazil by slaves from Angola? I have a Brazilian Mbira student, and he did some research at one of their national museums, and they still have some Mbiras that were brought to Brazil from Angola, like other kinds of Mbiras that we haven't seen before. And so, but I think education around the world should include that this type of instrument is originally from Africa and then was taken to other places by the slave trade, and then was spread even farther in modern history, just by the world becoming a small place where people move around and share things with each other. And so I think it needs to start from there. And that's by nature inclusive of all the traditions in Africa, and starting with all the traditions in Zimbabwe. So that seems like a starting point. And I agree with some of the others that I don't think this is ever going to be a mainstream instrument in the sense of, like the electric guitar. Like there's nobody probably in the whole world that has never heard an electric guitar.
Yeah.
But if it could be part of music education around the world, that people could know that this type of instrument exists and hear some examples of what it sounds like, that I think is a more realistic goal. And then, as Hassan mentioned, it's like this is very deep tradition, and some people are going to be drawn to the deep tradition, and that is not going to be everyone.
Yeah.
And people are drawn to it for different reasons, which is very interesting to experience, because some people are really drawn immediately to the healing that they experience from it. Other people are drawn to it because they love to dance to it, or it just sounds pretty to them. People have so many different levels, or they're drawn to it because they feel that connection to the ancestors that, is part of the ancient tradition, not only of one type of Mbira, but several. So I think starting with wanting everyone to know that this type of instrument exists and that its traditions originally come from Africa and especially Zimbabwe, I think that's a really good place to start.
Okay. Sherry. Sherry looks frozen on the screen, but I'm not sure if she can hear us. Sherry, can you hear us? Okay.
I can hear.
Brother.
I
Okay.
can hear. Can you hear me?
Finally, we can hear you. There's a delay in the conversation. So, did you hear what I just asked?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I know. I think there are so many people. No, you can't hear me.
No, it's breaking up. We really can't It's kind of breaking
I
up.
can't tell if you can hear me or not. Maybe you can wave.
Can you hear us? I can wave. I can hear you, but it's delayed.
Yes.
Okay.
Now you're frozen.
You are frozen. So, oh gosh. Okay, we just lost it. Brother Hassan, can you go ahead and answer and give your point of view to the same conversation we were having right now? We'll wait for Sherry to get back.
I think we're having the same kind of over and over. And what comes to my mind is a friend of Sabar. He said, anytime you want people to know something that's not supported by education, is you of artist development or development. You train people to play the drums. You have to explain to the people who are the audience hearing, and then you have to continually get some sort of connection in the people. The guitar conservatory is conservatories, but we don't have Mbira to that level. Can you guys still hear me?
We can hear you, but it's breaking up.
Okay.
Breaking up a lot.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I noticed it was going in and out because I'm a little far out. So can you hear me now, right?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, it's breaking.
We can hear you.
Okay, so like I said, right now I'd like to give credit to Brother Kevin Nathaniel. He's known as the Johnny Appleseed of the Mbira. He went around to schools and he had Mbira workshops in schools, in universities, in it is about getting it to the young people. And then if it doesn't connect or it doesn't catch, you just let it be.
Mm-hmm. So my question
That's my
to you,
answer.
My question to you is this: what is stopping, or how? Maybe I should phrase it differently. How can we get all these silos that are working so tirelessly to come together and do a one huge effort that may very well, in my view, impact on a larger scale? Because I think Erica, when I speak to Erica, I realize she works very hard. She does the best she can, but it must be exhausting being Erica without support from the other community. I'm not saying that you don't have support, you do, but I'm talking about there's something that comes out of everybody who is doing whatever they're doing, which is the same way in our communities. When we come, let me take it back to the Zimbabwean community. We have a village. Each village has a household. Each household is part of a village that has a chief or a sabuk, right? And the sabuk goes under a chief who is at the top, right? And I'm not talking about in terms of power, the power struggle. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about an organized community that says, yes, I'm Erica, I focus on this. Yes, I'm Hassan, I focus on this. I'm Jomo, I'm Brother Nathaniel, I'm Sherry. My focus is this, but there must be something central that we feed into that then makes sure everything is connecting. Is that something that we can do here in the US? Maybe that's the way I need to ask.
You know, I'm in agreement with what Hassan said about Kevin. Kevin took the Nunga Nunga and he went into the community and he kind of improvised and started working with other musicians as a coalition, as a group, with a whole bunch of different instruments. And my approach has been to take the mbira, and because the mbira is a modal instrument, and people in the U.S. are used to chromatic stuff, so that's why I created a chromatic. But I also work with a lot of spoken word artists and rappers like that, and that's a grassroots approach to getting people just used to hearing the instrument, and then the education process can begin, because I try to always talk about the instrument before I start playing it, and at least people understand what it is. So there's all different kinds of approaches, but you almost have to kind of tie yourself into the general population, and how they're used to hearing things and how they're used to seeing things,
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you a question. When you say, when you talk about the chromatic, that people over here are used to the chromatic mbira, when we're talking the chromatic instrument part of it, right? Obviously there are so many versions that have come out. Chromatic, okay, nyunga nyunga, okay, all the instruments from different countries being called in different names. They don't call them the mbira. So what do you see them going under the same banner as saying the mbira is the original, then it has all these roots and fingers out of it, just like the mbira itself. It has fingers that have grown out of it, but they're all represented within the main stem. Is that correct to say that?
Well, Albert Chimesta, he's such a wonderful, he's a very vocal person. He's taught me a lot about everything. And his approach is the mbira is a instrument. He he takes the Shona mbira and he makes it a chromatic. So it's not even whether it's a chromatic or whether it's traditional in the way you play it, but you just have to bring it to people in a way that they understand it, and so I agree with Albert about that. It's an instrument, that can be used in any kind of venue or purpose,
Yeah, just like you're saying, the guitar can be a guitar, but it comes in different forms and formats. It can be the bass, the lead, but it's also in the same family. Okay, Brother Hassan, your thoughts?
Well, there. This is what we need.
There you go.
What is that? What is that, Brother Hassan? What is that?
Okay, if you want to send
money,
yeah, that's it.
And those were just dollars.
The Benjamins.
Yeah.
If you're gonna send airline ticket and you're gonna send Hassan Zimbabwe, and we're studying or sharing an
Oh, Brother Hassan is breaking up.
It broke up. We can't hear.
We can't hear him. He's breaking
I want
up.
to hear what you're saying too.
But you were saying something.
Saying is there's no way to do it without money.
He's making a point.
Yes. So it's the money that has controlled how Mbira has moved or been talked about and the direction it has taken. So without money, even in Zimbabwe, they cannot voice out. They can just follow the trail of the money. That's what I'm getting. So even if the Mbira players in Zimbabwe have their own opinion, they sometimes have to suppress it because the money speaks.
They don't have it. They need money. They need to put together some from America to study their form, and they study maybe some of our styles, what Jomo's doing, what the Spirit Ensemble people are doing. It's not going to be any big explosion until you get the flare of funding and interest together. Our education.
But So now that we're talking about money, okay, I'm going to put this out. Is there no power and strength of money when we all come and put our resources together, which is the same point that I keep bringing back. Okay. Now that the Mbira community.
Savannah, most people who love Mbira don't have money.
No, okay, hold on.
Even
That's
if
exactly.
we come together, we're all struggling to survive. It's
I understand.
necessarily make it better.
But that's exactly where my point is. This is where exactly what I was going to say. It's even more when people don't have money and they're working in small silos, right? I understand that most people who work with Mbira don't have money. But the more that we work in different silos, the more our resources are just doing very small and repeated things that will have to be repeated over and over again for years. And then it is exhausting for you and for everybody to repeat the same process every day and not see any effect. So when we're coming together, we are saying we're going to choose what is priority, what is it that we can empower and make sure that if this is done, then layer number 2 is going to be done. Layer number 3 will make sure that layer number 4 then makes everybody able.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Something happened to brother Hassan. I'm going to put him on mute for a quick second. But Jomo, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Anything that's going to, and this is a monetized world that we live in, you know, everything's about money. And it doesn't have to come from, you know, like Erica, it doesn't have to come from you. You know, you shouldn't have to, you are the artist. You shouldn't have to struggle to promote your music and your, I mean, it's all about investment, you know, and hopefully that's something that is going to come through the guild now, that investors are going to be able to see the potential of this instrument and the potential of opening up a new venue. Because I'm telling you, the steel pan, nobody knew what steel pan was until investors got involved with it and started pushing it and selling tons and tons of steel pans. And it's the same thing with Mbira. We're just going to have to get to a point where we can sell groups. That's why I'm saying the schools are so important. If we can get schools to buy blocks of instruments where they can start teaching them as part of the curriculum, then you know that changes, because then that's where the money can go back to Zimbabwe and can start spreading, you know.
That's actually one of the things I do. I've sold, you know, big sets of instruments to so many colleges and universities and at least one elementary school in the Northwest. So that's actually one of the things I try to do is make Zimbabwean made mbiras available, you know, with a quick turnaround and being able to work with universities, for example, to have exactly the kind of invoice that their particular institution requires, which is like a whole thing in itself. So actually, that's one of the things I've worked with is trying to make the instruments easily available in, you know, especially in the US, but I haven't really had schools in other countries, I don't think, order large numbers of them, partly because the shipping is so expensive.
So now my going by what you're saying, Erica, my thoughts when I'm saying that there's power in community is the resources of not Erica alone doing it by herself, but Erica having the support of Jomo and the knowledge and the resources that he has by having Hassan, Sherry, and everybody else putting all their resources together into one idea and saying, look, we want music in schools, right? Let's say we say our focus this year, this is now an overall organization that says our focus this year is to get Mbira in schools. who has connections in this organization, in this school, in this college, in this what, and then we start working together. That's what I'm talking about. I do acknowledge the individual push, but there's so much that an individual push can do. Besides, we are all in different places. Can we not have that arch? Is it possible? That is my question. That can pool its resources. Yes, acknowledge every individual's, which is the same thing that the Mbira Guild is doing. Mbira Guild is not taking away the individual capacity, but it's coming in as an arch. Is there a possibility?
I think the money thing is really going to be an obstacle, and particularly now, because all schools at any level are really suffering from what's happened during the pandemic. They're really suffering financially. They're not only not adding new programs, they're cutting out many of their existing departments. Colleges and universities are cutting out whole departments. So the timing right now is really not optimum because of the finances. Like, I'm expecting that during the next year, it will be really unlikely that any colleges and universities will be buying big sets of instruments through my nonprofit. I'll be really surprised if there's a school that has the money for that right now because of the way they're suffering financially.
So I always think this. I always think it this way. You're right that 2020 and 2021 is a pandemic year. So, but when these conversations are being had, they're not meant for immediate consumption or right now. We're talking about the future. We're thinking forward. We're saying, can this be something in a normal society that we can start thinking about? Right now, clearly, even in Zimbabwe and everywhere, that is why you have been raising so much to try and help and assist, right? Because it's a pandemic. So we're clearly not talking about the pandemic, but we're talking about the future. We're saying the conversation has been long overdue. We should have started this conversation a long time ago, where we are talking about the future, even if it's implemented a year from now, because this has just started in Zimbabwe. So it's not expected to right now, today, be implemented in the US. But we're saying, let's start having these conversations so that we can see what we can do to complement what is happening. Is that fair enough to say?
Yeah, we're on course. This conversation is helping us getting a little closer, and just getting to meet everybody and talk about people's histories and contributions all plays a part in getting us closer to that objective of having total presentation of what Mbira is for us and what it can be in the populace of the world.
Yes. Yes.
And like Hassan mentioned earlier, we still have social media. That's a huge, powerful tool. And if all of us do our part to, really take advantage of that, we can spread the word of this instrument just by that alone, right? Especially right now when everybody's on it,
So let me add a little bit on a personal level, catching onto what something Erica said about we need to get on social media. Before the pandemic, which is the good thing about the pandemic, it has taught us that even if we can't meet in person, we can now meet on social media, which is why I have created this platform.
Wonderful.
But let me say this. It is not easy to get everybody to see it the same way and say, let's all come into one platform and air through one platform, because there's strength. It's also the same thing that I'm trying to say. Even on social media, you see people doing all sorts individual things. Everybody is trying to broadcast from their own little channel, right? And I have 10 views here. That one has 10 views there. That one has 2 views over there. What I'm saying is this, it applies also to social media. Can we, because I do not play Mbira, so I have no self-interest of promoting myself through Mbira. What I'm saying is that I want to provide a channel. But again, like Brother Hassan said, it's about resources, right? But resources can only come through all of us. It's also about the Benjamins that Hassan said, whoever has the Benjamins makes it happen. If I had the Benjamins right now, I would be paying every Mbira player to come onto this channel. And this channel will be the biggest channel. Everybody would know that, you know what, I have no $50. I can go on Savannah's channel and I'll get $50, right? And they will come whether they want it or not. And then this channel would grow whether people like it or not. But I have this belief that getting something organic is the best and it has strength. People have to buy into the idea that they want this channel or they don't. If someone like Hassan, who has already bought into the idea, said, "Hey, sister, I'll support you whatever way. I want this." Jomo has done the same. Erica has done this by being consistently on this channel for the past 7 weeks, and I have not paid Erica a penny. This is the only support I need. So sometimes it's not about money, the Benjamins. It's about people consciously saying, "Okay, we see you. We see what you're trying to do. We are going to support." Or they say, "Okay, we see you, but you know what? You think you can do it? We are going to stand back and we're going to watch. Let's watch you burn." And it happens. And then we don't grow. Or maybe the approach that Savannah is doing, some people feel that, you know what, she's bulldozing. She doesn't even play Mbira. I've been told that. "You don't play Mbira. What are you doing in the Mbira community?" Is this a community for Mbira players only? Because yes, I can't play Mbira, but I can talk. And yes, I can't play Mbira, but I love bringing people together. I don't care who you are, Erica. Before I met you, people said a whole lot of things, but I don't take what people say and bring it to you. You hear me, Erica?
Mm-hmm.
I've been discouraged so many times to talk to Erica, but that's not my problem. That's their problem. I don't hotspot issues. I don't hotspot hate. I don't hotspot what people think, right? I see Jomo is doing something, I just go, "Jomo, hey, can you do this? Hey, Mahelani." I approached almost everybody. I go in unreserved because this is who I am. Because if you want to do this, you have to be unreserved. I don't know what issues they are there. But at some point, we as the Mbira community need to drop these issues and focus on what the big picture is about the instrument. Because we are all in this instrument back. My personal feelings about what I think about Erica, what I think about Jomo. It's not about you. It's not about me. Let's come together. Let's do this. I see Erica. I see what she's trying to do. She can only do the best she can. Even if I disagree with some of the way that she's doing, why should I stop her? Why can I not come and say, "Hey, Erica, I'm here to help. Hi, Hassan, brother, I see you. I feel you."
Yeah, well.
Can we do that in the Mbira community? Which is exactly why I'm saying the Mbira Guild has done that. I've seen Mujuru. I've seen
Maraire.
I've seen Mujuru. I've seen all the big families, including I've seen everybody in that community trying to push and say, Tendai Gahama, all the people, they're coming in and saying, "Look, let's put aside everything that we think and feel. This is time for the instrument and for us to represent our instrument and our culture." Can we see the same thing happen in the community outside of Zimbabwe? Is my question. Is my quest.
My sister Savannah, you're on it. It's going to take a while. What you're talking about is part of people's human condition and their own personal growth. Only thing we can do in this moment is to continue to play, continue to be dedicated to something. And by doing that, we will plant a seed in life and it will flower a great tree for us. Continue to play the instrument, continue to introduce. That's all we can do. We're on target.
Thank you.
Definitely. We're definitely on target.
Jomo. We are on an hour and 4 minutes. We're past our show. We never got to even play because we're so consumed into this conversation. We didn't even have to play. We didn't even play because I wanted to hear Jomo and I wanted to hear Hassan. I wanted to hear Erica play. That all went into nothing but conversation. Jomo, what are your last words?
Well,
Because I
once
think we should
again,
continue this conversation next week. What do you think, guys?
yeah, yeah. Once again, though, I do have to make a point that just for example, recently, last summer, one of the universities local here brought patients to the U.S. to do some workshops, but she was kind of sequestered in a small group, and she never had an opportunity to meet anybody from our community. I had to drive 100 miles from here just to sit down and have a conversation with her. And so it's things like that. The money's there, but the people have to be open. The people who have the money have to understand that there's a wider community, and it's not just this small group of people who are interested in the instrument. And they have to be willing to, like when Patience was here, she could have, been shared with the community right here in Dayton, which is right, up the road from where she was. But that never happened, because the people who were financing it weren't understanding that this is something that needs to be shared with everybody and not just a small group of people. And that's my only problem that I've ever had with the Mbira community here in the United States.
I should respond to that. By the way, I was the first person who ever got Patience a visa to come to the U.S., although other people bring her now. But having toured with Zimbabwean musicians in the U.S., it kind of comes back to what Hassan was saying about the money. Musicians come here, they're culture shocked. They're trying to earn enough money that their family is going to survive for the next year or two until maybe they might ever have an opportunity to come back, or earn enough that they can invest in something that will keep them surviving after they go back. And so they have to focus on how they can earn some money. And the universities are the ones that, in the past at least, it used to be better actually. Many years ago, universities had a lot more money for those kind of things than they do now. But they really vary, but most of them are just going to pay for you to come and do your thing. And then the next day you're on a plane and you're like going to the next place and you're doing the next thing. And there have been a few universities that did have programs where they included in what, is being paid for would be visits to local, like a local elementary school, a local high school, that kind of thing. And some schools do actually promote to a wider community to try and get them to come. And I've always tried to promote, when I, organize tours with Zimbabwean musicians, to put it out on the Mbira.org website and email list, so that anybody out there in the community would be able to come to these university concerts, which often are free or subsidized, so that they're maybe $10 or something, but sometimes free. And so people do come from the community to those events, but there just isn't anyone who has the money to pay someone to go do some little community event, because universities pay thousands, and as we all know, little community events, there's no way to pay that kind of money. So for someone who's coming and doing something that's like, for many of them, like, they're just like surviving the culture shock till they can go home and they're homesick. They're just like there to work every day and earn as much as they can. And so there is a conflict there between the needs of the musician that's touring and the needs of the community. And I think it's a challenging one. It needs some kind of subsidizing so that more of that could be included, even though the event itself wouldn't bring in a lot of money, but there's some kind of subsidy that's like wanting to promote that and provide financial backing for that.
Well,
so
maybe
I really hear what you're saying, Jomo, but I just wanted you to hear the other side of it, like what it is from the organizing perspective, and you're trying to help this musician do what they want to do.
Well, maybe through the guild is that issue can be addressed, because if somebody's coming from Africa, the guild should be there to say, well, if they're coming there, we also want them to do this and that while they're there, to share in their experience, So hopefully the guild, with the support they're getting and the power that they'll have, we'll be able to do that. And because I know it's not. I've talked to the Mbira players that I know here, like the friend of mine that I was telling you about, and he was saying the same thing. We just don't have the money. We don't. We can't afford to do it. We can just bring them here, and then they got to go back. And so, but there just needs to be a wider focus, and we need to just, really do that, because I don't want to feel marginalized.
Exactly.
By this, because I mean, this is something that if I had known, like in the early 70s, more about Zimbabwe, man, it would have made a huge difference in where I'm at now,
We can't hear you, Savannah.
Can't hear you.
You're muted.
Hold on.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Again, I keep hearing the same thing, that there is, I always hear things that people don't hear. I keep hearing this power in strength, and strength in coming together.
Yes.
I keep hearing, no matter how much we are talking in negative, I'm hearing the positive. I want to keep hearing the positive, which is, if we all come together, then there is more we can do. We can help each other more. Okay, I can understand that there is no money, but there could be money for that arch that we're talking about. Because Erica can only get so much, because her organization is focused on certain things, right? So whenever you're looking for money, you get for that. But if there is that umbrella, the arch, that comes in and says, let's all put our resources together, maybe then we can be able to push on a bigger platform. Again, I hear things and I see things that have nothing to do with what we are talking about. It's an issue, but it's not an issue for me. And this is where my voice comes in. My voice is saying, look, we have done this, and we have done the best we can, and we are doing the best. And no one should be left out of this. No one should feel threatened. No one should feel that whatever they've worked for years is about to be shattered. Because I can see, and I can hear, I can sense that people may feel that by people saying that they have a guild in Zimbabwe, it means we are saying, hey, watch out, people in the US shut down. I'm saying, let's bring all the voices on this platform. Let's start talking about these fears. Let's talk about the issue. Let's talk about the forward. Let's talk about the thoughts we have and say, hey, maybe if we do this, what is it that the community here wants to see on a larger platform? I know what Erica wants on her platform because it's clearly stated on her website. But I'm talking about the bigger picture. What would we all want to see outside of Zimbabwe? Can we start having those conversations without feeling attacked, without attacking the next person, without threatening the next person's livelihood, or without thinking that Zimbabwe is now saying, after all we have done, they're now shutting down and saying we are the owners of this? No. Can something good start in the conversation we are having right now?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yes.
It already is.
Yeah.
It already is. It's a long way to go.
Thank you,
because
Savannah.
it's a long way to go, regardless to wherever we feel or you feel we need to go. But we are making those beautiful steps. So we just have to continue on.
Yeah, so we need more voices, more conversations, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some Shona hip hop now. Erica.
Okay, so let me tell you let me tell you, Jomo, you are on point because one of my questions that I didn't ask, let me ask it right now. I kind of slipped because the conversation was just taking a life of its own. One of my conversations was, um, give me 1 second. I need to get back to this question because I don't mind doing this. Yeah, okay. Okay, I was going to ask, would it be exciting if the Mbira developed new music forms developed in the African American community? And I'm talking about the hip hop community and all that, and even the mainstream in the rock community. How best can we achieve this? That's one of the questions I was going to ask, but you know what? I got lost in this conversation, in this beautiful conversation. Mainstream music, can Mbira, yes, we must preserve the traditional form of the Mbira, but can we not take this Mbira and introduce it into hip hop?
It's already there.
Yeah, I know it's already there, but I'm saying
Hassan is doing it.
It's already there. You know, I mean, just continue. Begin to feel as though it's already there, and it'll get there. Right? There's nothing stopping us. But remember, the same way you're talking about Mbira Guild and how its effect is on the world. Remember, hip hop came from the Bronx. Okay, right. And how do we feel? You know, me being in New York for 40 some odd years and seeing hip hop develop. I wasn't in there. I was playing African music or whatever. And now I see people Shona hip hop, you know, Barcelona hip hop, China hip hop, break dancers from Korea. You know,
you don't complain and say, hey, can you play homage to our hip hop here in the US? I know a lot of hip hop artists in Zimbabwe.
But some do. Some do. Just do what you do from the purity of who you are. That's all you can do. If you of European descent and you find yourself loved in Mbira, play the Mbira from that love. African American, play that Mbira from that love. Zimbabwe, there's some people in Zimbabwe can't play the Mbira.
I don't play the Mbira.
So just do your thing.
I don't play the Mbira, and I don't want to play the Mbira. I love the instrument, but I don't really have the wish or the want to learn how to play it.
You're already playing the Mbira. Your personality is Mbira. It will never be separated from you. You're giving opening to hear the Mbira through you. We thank you for that.
Yes.
So when you start breaking it down into little component parts, you separate it, but just be yourself. And even if you break it down, there's a force that's going to try to unify. The greatest thing about us is we're trying to unify. That's man's nature.
Yes.
He breaks up, then he unifies. He unifies, and he breaks up. It's all beautiful.
Thank you so much.
I love you.
Oh, I love you.
Today is my what they call solar return.
Let me tell you what I want to say. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our son's birthday today. I wanted to leave it until the last and say happy birthday to our brother.
Thank you.
Birthday.
Thank you.
It is your day today. So maybe we can now extend a little bit more when Jomo or Erica plays you a song.
I love that. Anybody.
We've got to play him a song.
Erica, please play me something.
Erica.
Okay, Erica, let's go.
Can you hear that okay?
Yes, we can.
Even if I didn't hear it, I'd feel it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Erica. Thank
Oh
you.
my God.
Thank
That's
you,
so
Erica.
great.
That was
You
Perfect.
oh,
Perfect.
did so well with your Hoshos. It's
oh,
somehow,
sure, it's good.
yeah, it's still very well because I was afraid the
Yeah.
to,
Now it's
to
breaking up. I
connect
can't
you.
actually hear you.
You can't hear us anymore, Erica?
It's breaking up. I can't hear you.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. That means, but anyway, thank you so much, all of you. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
think
for inviting us.
it has been the
Yes.
most beautiful, most amazing. I think if we continue with this spirit of just wanting to the best, like Brother Hassan is saying, just do what you do. Somehow, somewhere, the universe will collide. And I've been in the US for a long time, America, and we have brushed. But somehow, when it was right, we connected and we started talking, and it was effortless. The same
Yes,
way with
effortless.
the same way with Jomo. When I started talking to Jomo, it was not some big boo, but no, it was effortless. The same way with you, Hassan. And I think we just need to continue, as you're saying. Let's continue doing what we do. The energy, the spirits will connect with whoever they want to connect, and we can just do what we can do.
Yeah,
Thank you.
boy.
Yes.
Yeah, boy.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
Ashe. Ashe.
this
That's you.
this conversation is to continue next week. And I know, Erica, we never even had the conversation to say this may be our last conversation, right?
Savannah, I can't actually hear you, but can I ask one more time to remind people to make donations for Zimbabwean musicians at mbira.org? 100% is going to be distributed in January to Mbira players in Zimbabwe. So to
Yes,
whoever
beautiful.
needs it the most, we distribute it to those who are receiving the least, that everybody gets something.
Yes.
So mbira.org, the green button on any page on the website is going to work for that. So
thank you so much. We've done this for the past 6 weeks, and I want to say thank you to Erica for availing yourself, and I really mean it from the bottom of my heart.
Yes.
It was effortless. I didn't have to say, "Hey, Erica," and there was no, "Hey, what." No, it was just, "Let's do this," and we've done it for the past 6 months, 6 weeks. Sorry, 7 weeks. We've done it for 7 weeks. And since we're going towards to Christmas, I felt that we should close this and we must continue talking the conversations, yes, because we cannot stop these conversations.
Yeah.
But the campaign, everybody knows, please Go donate. Erica is doing a wonderful job. And I have witnessed people who have been helped, who are in dire straits right now. And I don't care what people say. I don't care what other thoughts people may have that this may not be the right way. Listen, come into the conversation, bring your right way. But in the meantime, we're not stopping what we can do, what we think is right, the best way we can do it. Unless there's another solution, this is the solution right now. Let's continue to do what we do best. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Savannah.
Let's again.
Thank you.
I'm going to continue this
Maita
conversation.
basa.
I want to not say that. And this conversation is not going to stop. I don't stop talking. That's one thing. And there's something that my dad used to call me. In my language, it's called Chanda Ngwenyambiras, really meaning someone who, once they focus on something, they have this tunnel vision and they're going after it. I don't care. I'm going after it and we're going for it. And so this is just what it is. The conversations are not going to stop it. There are so many times when I felt, you know what, why am I even doing this? Why can't I just continue with my life the way it is? But every day when I say that, I find myself again faced with the camera and in people's inboxes, calling people, asking people if they can have a conversation with me. And I'm going to continue. The spirit is telling me I'm doing this and I'm going to continue doing it. And thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.